Hello, everybody. Welcome to this special edition. And listen to that music as it fades out behind us. The production values of Coco and Dalts have gone through the roof here in 2019.
And aren't you happy that you joined us for season 2 of Coco and Dalts with new and improved production values?
All that money we made on advertising last year and crowdfunding and GoFundMe or whatever it is, we rolled it right back into the show.
Because we're thinking of you.
Because we love our listeners. We love our listener.
So I'm not Dalt.
And I'm not Coco.
And what do we have to talk about today in this special edition of Coco and Dalts?
Special edition.
No, we have sound effects for that now.
That was a sound effect. What are you talking about?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that wasn't me doing my voice or anything.
With like a karate chop hand, like coming at me across the dining room table.
That was to create sound waves and a buffer on each side of the mic.
This is why we have one listener.
Right. So our special edition one listener today, and we're glad you joined us because this is a rapid reaction, quick thoughts, immediately off the cuff. What do we think? Reaction to Oscar nominations 2019.
The nominees were released this morning, which is a Tuesday, January.
It's not morning as we do this podcast.
Right, it's not morning later. We're both tired and cranky, so.
Right. I mean, I'm tired and cranky. You're never tired and never cranky, Coco.
Exactly. So, so we were going to give you our thoughts about the major categories of Oscar nominees. Any snubs, any reaction, any notable anything? What are you looking at?
I want to look at the computer to fully bake my reaction.
You have your phone right over there. Why don't you just use your phone?
Because I usually use my computer. That's why.
Okay. All right. So I'll go ahead and I'll get started with the nominees for Best Picture. See, I do have my phone right here. There are 8 nominees. We have seen 4 of them, so take that as you will. The nominees are Black Klansman, Black Panther, Bohemian Rhapsody, The Favorite, Green Book, Roma, A Star is Born, and Vice. What are your immediate thoughts on that list of 8, Dalts?
Well, so my immediate reaction is that usually they can go to 10.
Yes.
So this is a year where they didn't go to 10 because
or 11.
This one goes to 11?
Yeah.
I've never seen it go to 11. Is that in the year in which a Spinal Tap nomination is in the offing?
That would be awesome.
So Black Panther I saw, liked it, didn't think it was Best Picture worthy. Bohemian Rhapsody, it was like a TV movie of the week story about Queen, so I didn't think it was really Best Picture worthy. Mm-hmm. Roma, we saw that just the other day in preparation for this very podcast because we thought that it was going to get nominated. I thought it was very ponderous and not really, I think it was trying really hard to be a Best Picture nominee, and it succeeded. Star is Born, I saw, and of all those movies, I probably enjoyed that one the most. Maybe Bohemian Rhapsody a little bit because of the music, the legit Queen music that they use in it, and understanding the artistry of that band and the time, and also the Mike Myers cameo. But A Star is Born, having said that it was one of the better nominations that I've seen, I knew it was going to happen. I knew the story arc. There were no surprises really whatsoever there to me. I
mean, it's the 4th time this movie has been made.
Right.
So.
And I wasn't even going to movies when it came out with Chris Christopherson and Barbra Streisand. But I know the story, and it didn't dazzle me with anything. I thought Bradley Cooper did a lot of mumbling and looking down at his shoes, masked as acting.
Oh.
And Lady Gaga, I thought was actually probably the best thing about that whole movie. But she was the singer, and you could tell she had some chops, and she's a musician. So I thought she was pretty good. But
both of them nominated in the acting categories, which we will get to in a moment.
Which we will get to, yes. But I wasn't blown away. I know I said this to you before in our pre-show rehearsal meeting that we had with the crew around us.
With our notes.
With our notes and everybody around the table riffing on stuff, as we usually do with our workshop approach that we take. But this year just has not done anything for me on the nominations. Last year, the movies that we were talking about Darkest Hour. We were talking about The Shape of Water. We were talking about
Dunkirk.
We were talking about Three Billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri. And we were just talking about movies that were... And we're talking about Get Out, too, weren't we?
Yeah, Get Out. Uh-huh.
Right. So all these movies, like any one of those movies, to me, is better than any of these movies nominated this year.
And like I said, to be fair, we have only seen 4 of the 8 nominees.
Yes.
I really, really want to see Black Klansman and The Favorite. I know you don't necessarily want to see The Favorite because it's a costume drama.
I do not want to see that. I want to see Vice, though.
I don't want to see Vice.
So while you're in the theater seeing Favorite, and I'll go see Vice, and then we'll meet and then go see Black Klansman when we double dip next.
Okay, sounds good. I also have no desire to see Green Book.
I wouldn't mind seeing that. I know why you don't, though.
I'll probably watch it on Amazon or something. I don't have to see it in the theater. Of the 4 that we have seen, I would say I agree with you. A Star is Born was my favorite on that list. I did like Black Panther. I didn't love it. I really hate to use this, but I mean, that's like a token Best Picture nominee. You can tell, not that it's not a good movie, and not that it wasn't extremely culturally important, but I mean, they were talking about having like a whole separate category for like Best Superhero Movie to try to spice up the ratings, which have been steady or declining for several years, which is very worrisome. And now Black Panther gets thrown into Best Picture. Like I said, I'm not denigrating this movie whatsoever, but
it's a superhero movie.
It's a superhero movie.
It's a superhero movie just like all the other superhero movies.
I don't think that it's gonna win.
And I think that in reference to your, the Academy was trying to add for this year, and in previous years has been a groundswell of support for the most popular movie category.
Yeah.
Which to me is like, isn't that what the box office numbers are? And isn't that sort of artificial? Like everything is judged.
Yeah.
And then there's something like that can be absolutely defined by money. It's just like, okay, what's the most popular movie? Black Panther. So I think that this was the Academy
throwing a bone to younger viewers.
Here's a wink and a nod. Okay, we're not going to do the category this year, but we're going to put Black Panther in there. Now, I would still say of all the superhero movies that I've seen, Black Panther is probably one of the best. Mm-hmm. But it's still a genre that there's not a lot of fantastic acting in superhero movies. There's a lot of things getting blown up.
Right.
There's not a lot of dialogue.
There's a lot of CGI.
There's a lot of CGI. I'm not saying that that's not a skill that is required and something that can be appreciated. Mm-hmm. But as far as what the Academy is supposed to represent, and I'm not a member of the Academy, just in case anybody thought I was. But I just don't see that belonging there. I think it's like you said. It's just kind of okay. We'll throw this in there, and maybe people will pay attention to see if it wins. We'll go after the younger demographic, the kids on the Twitter.
Right, because that's probably the reason why they didn't do like best most popular movie category, because it's already freaking 4 hours long, and now you're gonna add another like GD category and make it even longer. Like, no, just put Black Panther on the Best Picture list. Like you said, throw the kids a bone. Boom.
So at the end of this podcast, listeners, we want you to write in the comments and say who was the grouchiest of the two of us. And the winner will get a punch in the thorax.
Wait, what? No, violence is never the answer.
Well, you're right.
Remember how I went to that yoga training this weekend?
Which we now can write off on our taxes because you mentioned it on the podcast.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
So any other thoughts? Roma, what did you think of Roma, Coco?
Well, I was actually going to segue into Best Director from Best Picture, and we could talk about Roma because the Roma director, Alfonso
Cuarón,
he was nominated.
I hope I didn't just swear in Spanish.
As were Spike Lee for Black Klansman, who we will talk about in a moment, because this is his first Best Director Oscar nomination.
Which is stunning.
Ever, which is stunning. 30 years after Do the Right Thing came out. Also nominated a guy who has like an Estonian name for The Favorite.
Yorgos Lanthimos.
Adam McKay for Vice, and Pavel Pawlikowski for Cold War. So what do you think about Alfie C getting nominated for Roma?
I know what prepare a little bit better on the pronunciations.
I know what you think about Alfie C getting nominated, but what do you have to say to our listeners?
Well, no, I opened this segment by saying, you tell me.
Okay,
So I've opined. You opined.
So, I didn't love Roma. From an artistic perspective, I enjoyed it. He used a lot of long tracking shots.
Oh, man, did he?
Which you don't really see a whole lot of. You might see one of those per movie because they're so kind of difficult to pull off. Every scene was a tracking shot.
And that's one of the reasons it was, 2 hours and 20 minutes long or something like that?
Yeah, so it was artistically good, but the story... So the story, for those of you who don't know, it's a housekeeper in Mexico City in the early 70s, and it's about her life, and it's also about the lives of the family that she works for. And it's autobiographical loosely on Alfie C's life growing up in that neighborhood in Mexico City in the early 70s, but I couldn't... So in the movie, the main character, she's very dispassionate. She's got like no agency. Like everything happens to her. She doesn't, spoiler alert, gets pregnant, and she doesn't inquire about steps to give up the baby or terminate the pregnancy. Like she just kind of keeps the baby, even though at the end she admits that she never wanted the baby. And she kind of half-heartedly goes to find the father, who's a jerk, who abandons her. And I mean, there's nothing you can do if the guy's a jerk and he's not going to take responsibility, but she
waited a while to go get him.
Yeah, and she just kind of floats along in this movie. Everything happens to her. She doesn't do anything. The movie is a dispassionate observer of her as she is dispassionately observing her life. And I couldn't tell if he did that deliberately because she's a member of the family, yet she's not a member of the family. So how well do they really know her? Or if he, I don't know, or if he really doesn't know a whole lot about the woman who worked for his family when he was a child. And so he thinks that this is how things are. I don't know. And there weren't really a whole lot of explanations for the outside events that happened, like the student protests and stuff. So maybe there was a bigger picture and it was more broadly being applied as universal themes in a young woman's life and the springtime of her awakening and, youth being more volatile and stuff. But I don't know. I didn't get it.
I think you hit the nail on the head in a lot of ways there. The movie, and the biggest one to me was that the movie doesn't as a viewer, the movie is just kind of there.
Yeah.
It's almost like visual soundtrack. It's just kind of in the background, the movie, and it's happening, and then you have these long tracking shots. Alfie C did two of my favorite movies. AC, Forever After known as. He did Y Tu Mama Tambien, which is a great movie.
Yeah, great movie.
And Children of Men, which I just rewatched recently, with Clive Owen in a dystopian future in which a child has not been born in 18 years, and Clive Owen finds the first pregnant mother in 18 years and tries to get her to safety. It was a fantastic movie. It's completely horrible in its vision of the future and that sort of thing, but it was a really well done movie. Now there's some long tracking shots in that.
Oh, okay.
But the one shot that stays with me is Clive Owen trying to get into this bombed out building as the rebels and the government are fighting back and forth. And that's all, it looks like it's all done in one take. The camera follows him behind, goes into the building with him, goes behind bunkers with him and all that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of artistry in that. I didn't see a lot of this in Roma. I'm not expecting bombed out buildings in Roma, but I just didn't feel it. The movie's in black and white, and it's sort of, maybe that's intentional, but the emotions are
very black and white as well.
Very black and white in terms of, and almost muted, versus color.
Right.
So there's not a lot of colorful emotions in this movie, and there's a lot of opportunity there. Like there's infidelity involved with the mom and the family, and the two kids are in a life-threatening situation at one point.
Right.
And the way that was done was very dispassionate too. It was.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just because I'm used to Hollywood, the way it blows trumpets at everything, and everything is an emergency, and everything is high drama. And this one was just like, okay, I like these movies as almost like a slice of life.
Okay,
so
I'm going to comment on that.
you just kind of like, you pick up a story, and there's a lot of these kinds of movies that they don't really have a beginning or end. You just kind of you start watching the movie at a certain point in somebody's life, and then there's the end of the movie is just, okay, we got to about 2.5 hours of movie, I guess we're done.
Yeah.
And you stop filming, and it's like there's not a lot of climax there. There's not a lot of arc. There's not really 3 acts per se. And so a lot of that stuff to Roma, in my mind, was that. It was just like, okay, this is just 2.5 hours of somebody's life.
You know what I can compare it to with the slice of life is the Florida Project.
Right.
Because in Roma, like, I hate to say this because it makes it sound like the movie was all downhill from the beginning, but like one of the best shots for me was in the very beginning, you're close up on some tiles, and she's like washing them, and you can see the reflection of the sky in the water, and you can see a plane go by.
Yeah.
And there's like a lot of like plane motifs in the movie.
There was a lot of that, yeah.
And in the Florida Project, it's kind of the same thing. Like, it's a very slice of life movie, but you have like Disney World as
right around the corner.
So it's like a lot of like the planes are, escape in the outside world in Roma, and then Disney World is like the escape and the better life in the Florida Project, and it's very
well, and just like the Florida Project, or Florida Project as we say in my native land. Just like that was about loyalty, and it was about dedication
and family,
and it was about class. Roma, it has very similar undertones too. It's about family. It's about loyalty. It's about infidelity. It's very much about class. It's very much about the disenfranchisement of Mexicans in the 70s,
and an indigenous woman too, because
So there's a lot of really important underlying themes in Roma, just like there was in the Florida Project, but they were just so subtly done, and they were just they pop up here and there. Like the rebel stuff was very interestingly shot. The way these people are shopping in a store for
baby furniture,
in a it was in the Mexico City, so it's a little bit different of a department store. But you can imagine yourself being in this department store, and then you look out the window, and they pan over to the window, and there's just this massive street-wide brawl happening between protesters and the government and the police, essentially, and it's just all unfolding. And there's got to be hundreds of extras involved with this particular shot. So it's very well done. But at the same time, you're very much an observer of this, because it's through the glass of the department store window. So it's almost like you're watching a movie through the movie.
Right. Whereas with the Florida Project, you do get to know the characters. They're more fleshed out.
Yeah.
I will say, one of the things I did like about Roma was the mother of the family that the main character works for. You never really saw her, like literally actually saw her.
Literally actually?
Literally actually saw her. Like, which goes along with her character. Like, there was a lot of, like, the last shot of, the last scene of the movie is they're in the car driving back from the beach, and she's in the front seat and she's driving, and the reflection on the windshield, you can't see her face fully. Yep. And there was a lot of that in the movie. Like, you just didn't actually see her. And
with the kids, too. The closest we get to the kids in this movie that are a crux of the story is right at the end in the car.
Yeah, so you don't really get to see the mom, like, physically or mentally as a character, because what happens with the mom and the dad, and you like really never see the dad at all, because when he's first introduced, you don't see his face. You just see
him pulling up in the big,
like him
galaxy.
Pulling up, like in the big car, and you just see some interior shots of the car with him stubbing out the cigarette and like
turning the music up.
Turning the music up, and so he was very abstract. And then that's basically the only time he's in the movie. It's just like one or two short little scenes.
Yep.
So you don't actually see his face at all. And with the mom too, like, you only see her in bits and pieces as you learn about what's happening with her marriage as it's falling apart. So you're only learning about that in bits and pieces as well. So I thought that was like a really interesting parallel to not show the character, just like you're not showing the totality of the character's story all at once. And it also does go back to the maid is part of the family, but she's not really part of the family. So how much can she really know? How much can they really know about her? So there were some interesting things there, but it was just so, I keep saying dispassionate, but it was just dispassionate.
Yeah,
and I don't know how deliberate that was.
I think a lot of it was deliberate. If it wasn't, then it was accidentally artistic. Because I think there were a lot of really big chances taken there. There was with the tracking stuff and the deliberation of all the scenes and like you said, the characters very much being on the periphery and the housekeeper being the maid being the only one that we really see in close very much. And
except for the dog.
The
poor neglected dog who's just crapping all over the place.
Right. and there were a lot of chances taken, so I appreciate that because safe movie making is boring movie making.
Right.
But at the same time, it just didn't come together for me. It just was at the end of it. Like at one point, I turned to you and said, "Should we watch the rest of this?" And I don't usually give up on movies.
Yeah, I can always tell when you're bored because you pick up your phone and you start screwing around with it. And there was one point, I think we were like a half hour in it, and you stopped it to see how much time was left, and I was like, "Oh, that's not a good sign. He's not into this at all," you know?
Yeah, it was just not finding me at all. So I appreciated the effort, but it just didn't take. So Roma for me, not
that's a no.
That's a no in terms of whether I think it's going to win the Academy Award or whether I think it's deserving, or Best Director is what we were talking about.
Well, did he just win for The Shape of Water, or was that?
No.
Okay.
That was a different Mexican.
Another Alfonso, though, right?
Now, see, I don't know.
Okay, well, I'll look that up, and you talk about something else.
The Shape of Water, which was an Oscar-winning movie, which
by the
my
guy
buddy
who did...
in Toronto worked on, and has an Oscar, as a matter of fact, for it. Best Actress. So we've got Yalitza Aparicio, who is the lead character in Roma that we were just talking about. Glenn Close in The Wife. Olivia Colman in The Favorite. Lady Gaga, A Star is Born. And Melissa McCarthy, Can You Ever Forgive Me? Now, here's the thing. I think of those, I have not seen, I've only seen 2 of the movies. So this is...
Once again, this is our...
These are our Oscar nominations and award winners. But Lady Gaga, for me, of those nominees, was great. And now, the lead in Roma, she was great too. Apparently, she was a preschool teacher before she got into this acting gig.
Oh.
And I'd like to see somebody who doesn't fit Hollywood's idea of a leading woman win the award. Doesn't fit the body style and doesn't fit all sorts of categories that Hollywood believes in or has believed in. So it would be very nice and interesting. And also, by the way, we didn't mention that Roma is all in Spanish. It's got subtitles. Right. So it would be interesting to see somebody win as the best actress and they are not a native English speaker. Having said that, Lady Gaga I thought was pretty good. I wasn't expecting her to be good in that movie, and she turned out to be pretty good. And she was engaging, and I believed her. She was playing a musician, so not exactly a stretch, but certainly had me believing some moments in that movie. And she was tortured appropriately by Bradley Cooper's peeing in his pants on stage.
Guillermo del Toro. The Shape of Water. There we go.
Thank you.
I don't think she's going to win.
Who do you think's going to win?
So for Gaga, she did a better job than I thought she was going to do. Like, I think singers trying to be actresses can go horribly, horribly wrong. Witness Madonna, witness Beyonce. So she did much better than I thought she was going to do. But at the same time, I bought the love story between her and Bradley Cooper, but I could also see her trying at times,
okay.
you know? So I think she's probably a shoo-in for original song,
Yes.
Shallow, which also got nominated.
Yes.
I'm not going to say that she's going to win Best Actress. I say it's either going to be Glenn Close or Olivia Colman. Both of them have won a lot of the acting awards so far this award season. Glenn Close probably has an element of it's her time because she's been around forever. She's very well respected. Like I said, she's won some awards. And Olivia Colman is just a fantastic actress. British, also very well respected. I have not seen either The Wife or The Favorite, but if I were going to pick out of that list who, based on reputation alone, I think would win, I would say it would be one of those two.
So here's something for you. Neither one of us have seen Can You Ever Forgive Me? Can you believe that Melissa McCarthy got nominated for an Oscar?
I don't understand that because I don't understand Melissa McCarthy's appeal. I think she's got one wacky, like wacky fat girl shtick, and that's what she does. And we haven't seen Can You Ever Forgive Me? So I could be wrong about what that is, but I don't get her appeal.
I liked her in Bridesmaids.
Which is the wacky fat girl shtick right there.
And she was pretty good in Spy. I remember seeing that.
Wacky fat girl shtick.
Yeah, but she's not mixing it up at all. Yeah. Like you said. And she was in Ghostbusters.
Wacky fat girl shtick.
Right. I'm trying to find the movie that she was in that I liked.
So I have seen an episode or two here and there of the Gilmore Girls. I understand she was lovely in that, but I cannot vouch for that because I haven't seen a whole lot of it. So
yeah, I liked her in Bridesmaids, and that was pretty much it.
So, yeah, that's Best Actress.
So, do you want to go over Best Actor?
Yes. So, speaking of A Star is Born, Bradley Cooper is nominated. We also have Christian Bale for Vice, Willem Dafoe for At Eternity's Gate, Rami Malek for Bohemian Rhapsody, and Viggo Mortensen for Green Book.
Is this where we go into Green Book?
Well, do we want to talk about all the other stuff before we talk about Green Book?
So I want to see Vice. I have not seen that. I have high regard for Christian Bale. He always does a good job.
Yeah, he's amazing.
He has prosthetic city in this movie. So he didn't have to gain. He gained a lot of weight again. He did the whole thing like he did in the other movie that he was good in. Bradley Cooper. I thought I like Bradley Cooper. Mm-hmm. I know you're not a huge fan of Bradley Cooper, but
he's got serial killer eyes.
I've been told that I look like Bradley Cooper, so I don't know what that means.
You're way hotter than Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, you have to say that.
Well, I do, but it's true.
He, like I mentioned earlier, just talked down to his shoes too much. Did a lot of mumbling. Peed his pants on stage. I don't know. I thought he was pretty good. I didn't think he was fantastic.
I think he would probably trade his right arm to switch actor with director.
Yes, I think you're right. You're right. And I think he would have been legitimately recognized as a best director because I thought the direction of A Star is Born was pretty good. I mean, but nothing startled me in that movie, like I mentioned. Mm-hmm. Willem Dafoe is always good, so I'd love to see him win. He plays the one-eared artist.
Van Gogh.
Vincent Van Gogh in At Eternity's Gate. I was just checking to see if you knew who I was talking about. Mm-hmm. Rami Malek in Bohemian Rhapsody.
Teeth sucker.
So when we watched that movie, we sort of guessed that he was going to be nominated, I think, and I don't think that's really a surprise. He was great, but he was just kind of, not spectacular. That movie was not spectacular to me. It had so much potential to be spectacular.
We are the only people I know who did not love Bohemian Rhapsody. I liked it, but I'm like you. I think it was just a very good TV movie of the week.
I think if it had been on Hallmark Channel, then we wouldn't have been surprised. It was kind of watered down, and some of the criticism I've read about it is that Freddie Mercury's sex life kind of got homogenized a little bit. Is that can I say that when I'm talking?
Watered down.
Yeah, watered down is probably better. But I don't know. I thought it could have been better. And then Viggo Mortensen, who is usually very good and stuff, and I'm a big fan of his, and he's also a writer of some renown. Is a very interesting character.
Tries to be a Renaissance man.
I think he succeeds more than he fails, and he's certainly unusual in Hollywood, the amount of different things that he does. but he apparently checked his brain at the door.
So the Green Book promotional tour has been problematic, to say the least.
So the Green Book is about...
I actually don't really know what the Green Book is about.
The Green Book is about a black musician who hires a white mobster to protect him as he goes on a tour in the South. That's essentially it.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant what the actual Green Book was.
The movie.
Yeah, okay.
Just for people who don't know what it is.
Okay. Green Book is a movie about racism that has a racist white guy as the savior.
I don't know if he's racist. He used a word.
Well, no, I'm not talking about
racist.
Vigo. I'm talking about the actual character.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the actual character is a racist, and then he kind of ends.
He comes around.
It's basically like driving Miss Daisy in reverse, it seems like. And it's a movie about race that has a white savior. And, the black guy is up for supporting actor, which in a movie about racism maybe shouldn't be the case. But yeah, so the Green Book promotional tour has been fairly problematic, and Mahershala Ali, the aforementioned black guy who's nominated for supporting actor, who won Best Supporting Actor for Moonlight 2 years ago, he's had to eat a whole lot of crap this promotional tour.
Poor guy.
Because Vigo dropped the N-word on stage right next to him during one stop of the promotional tour, which, bro... Just
never
say,
use that. Never use the N-word.
You're white. You can't say that. Say the N-word. Don't use the actual word, or say racial epithets or whatever other euphemism you need to use. Don't use the actual N-word when you're on stage next to your black castmate.
Right.
And speaking of all the problems with the Green Book, now there's somebody really doesn't want this movie to win any awards because something just came out. The screenwriter of the script is the son. So this is based on a true story, and the screenwriter is the son of the white guy played by Vigo, who is apparently a few years ago he tweeted at Trump and said, "Yeah, I definitely saw Muslims cheering when the towers came down." So all those old tweets came to light, and he kind of had to apologize for
Nick
it.
Vallelongo.
Yeah, so the Green Book is just problematic.
Peter Farrelly apparently doing lewd business back in the day, which it probably was not unusual back in the day. But
that doesn't make it right.
But that doesn't make it right, and it's now coming to light that he did it.
So Peter Farrelly not nominated for Best Director for Green Book.
For Best Director.
After
this all will add up, perhaps, as you mentioned and explained to me very carefully and patiently, Coco, before the show, is that the voting for the Oscars is going on now.
Yeah, we just got the nominations today. The voting hasn't started yet.
It's not like the Hart Memorial Trophy in the NHL for the regular season MVP, and they announce it at the end of the playoffs. The awards are being nominated, or the nominations are being looked at now and being voted on now. So all this stuff that's come out has context and has relevance to the voters. They're going to be like, yeah, I don't know about Green Book. It's supposed to be a movie about racism, but the main actor guy says something racist.
And I was going to say something and I forgot what it was.
You were going to say that I'm absolutely right.
You are.
I'm always right.
And I'm very happy that you got hockey into the podcast, because that's the main word in our tagline, and we never ever talk about hockey. So.
That's because our downloads plummeted when we did that hockey special.
Is that really when it happened?
They plummeted from 15 down to 3, I think.
Wow. Yeah. So Green Book did just win the Producers Guild Award for Best Picture. It was nominated with all the other movies that are nominated for the Oscar Best Picture, with 2 other movies, Crazy Rich Asians and A Quiet Place. So apparently the movie that wins the Producers Guild Award for Best Picture typically wins the Oscar Best Picture. But, I mean, we got 3 weeks left for voting, and I think the backlash has started. If it's going to win an award, I think they might just give it to Mahershala Ali for having to eat so much crap during this promotional season. And also, I mean, he's fantastic. So there you go.
I'd like to see that movie just to see what it's like. So
I would, if I watched it because it just sounds so completely fakakta. It would have to be on Amazon. I could not pay money for that movie.
So we were going to do Best Supporting Actress and Best Supporting Actor, but how about we do snubs instead because we're running out of time.
Okay.
Running out of tape.
Well, let me just say, if I'm going to pick from that list, not having seen 3 of the 5 Best Actor performances, I'm going to say it's going to be Willem Dafoe. Because it's the same situation as Glenn Close. A very long career. He's a fantastic actor, very well respected. I think he very well could have won for The Florida Project a couple years ago when I believe he was up against Mahershala Ali. So that was a really heartbreaking performance. So I'm calling it now, Willem Dafoe.
Willem Dafoe, you heard it here first. Willem Dafoe as the Best Actor, also known for, and when you call up his IMDb page...
Did we have to do that?
I wanted to.
Okay.
And it says known for, and it's got 4 movies listed. So you would think these would be the most famous movies, best roles that he's ever been in. Spider-Man was number 1. He was Green Goblin. Grand Budapest Hotel. Shadow of the Vampire. And The Florida Project.
Oh, okay.
So he was in a little movie called Platoon that he's probably best known for, I think.
He was also in that really bad S&M movie with Madonna from the early 90s.
Ooh, yeah.
When she tried to... You don't have to look that up. Let's
She
talk
had
about...
the candle wax dripping on him. Right?
Yeah, let's talk about the snubs because we're running out of tape.
So the snubs, we got some snubs. And by the way, I haven't seen this written anywhere, but so maybe it's not a snub, but what happened to Widows?
Yeah, I don't think it got...
It's eligible, right?
Yeah, totally.
It was released in 2018.
Yeah.
We saw it at the end of 2018.
Yeah, it got nothing.
It got nothing.
That was my favorite movie that we saw in the theater last year. I freaking love that movie.
I agree with you. I'd say that was one of my top 3 movies for sure.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the other 2 are off the top of my head. So Bradley Cooper, snub as director.
Yeah.
Agree, disagree?
Nah. I would have picked him over Farrelly on the snubs to go on the list, but whatever. He's like 45. He's got plenty of time.
Snub, John David Washington.
Not having seen Black Klansman, I cannot speak to that. I will say Spike Lee finally getting a nomination after 30 years. Cray.
So what the heck? Spike Lee has done a lot of good work, and he's only been nominated. Like this year represents more nominations than he's had in total in the previous years by the Academy.
Well, that means that his work must have just been so much better this year.
So another snub, A Quiet Place, which got a lot of buzz.
I don't really care.
John Krasinski and Emily Blunt.
I think it's really funny that the 2 of them shilled their relationship super hard at the end of the year to try to get nominations for both of them, and then neither one of them got anything.
Yeah, and Emily Blunt, apparently there was some talk for her place in Mary Poppins Returns.
See, I know people who like that strictly because they liked the original, and then I know people who were like, yeah, it was not good.
When you say people, you mean my daughters.
Oh, well.
Who went to go see it.
Sure.
But I did not. I hung out in the parking lot, and then I went to Lowe's and looked at lumber rather than go with my daughters to see Mary Poppins Returns.
I mean, that's what I would have done.
There is no call for that sequel. There's absolutely no call.
It's all about the Benjamins, baby.
It's all about the Benjamins. Apparently, she pulled it off and did a great job and made the best, made chicken salad out of chicken poo-poo. But really, I mean, was there a need for that movie?
No. Just
like half of the other movies that are made in
right,
Hollywood
exactly.
these days.
So First Man, no Ryan Gosling.
First Man was a snub.
Which neither one of us was really in love with that movie. So
no, but like in context of the other movies that were nominated, I would have put it in there with Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like in terms of how much it didn't do for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like, yeah, it was thrilling. It was Neil Armstrong. Yeah, astronaut goes to the moon. Trouble. Survives. Everybody dies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just because I'm becoming jaded in my old age, but like I've seen a lot of these movies before.
Well, yeah.
Right?
I
like
mean,
a spaceship movie, like an astronaut movie.
Mm-hmm.
They have trouble. You get a rebel bunch of guys together, and they're all their trouble, and look out, and they get up in the rocket, and things are tough, and there's some sort of awful thing happen, and then they overcome it, and they come back, and they're heroes.
Is that how that went?
Pretty much.
Ryan Gosling, he hasn't really done a whole lot lately. This is the first thing he's done in quite a while.
He did Blade Runner 2049.
Oh, that's true.
Lest you forget.
I'm sorry. That's right. So,
which was a tremendous movie.
I contend that the only reason Emma Stone won her Oscar for La La Land is because she was opposite Ryan Gosling.
See, now,
because he is so good that he makes everybody around him that much better.
I loved that movie, as you know.
Yes.
And I also loved The Greatest Showman, which we saw, which was another movie from last year that we just saw recently. So I don't know what it is about the musicals, but I'm like back on maybe not back because I don't think I was ever on there to begin with, but unless you call Chitty Chitty Bang Bang a musical with Dick Van Dyke and Julie Roberts? No, Julie Andrews.
Same thing.
Yeah, I don't know if that's accurate. So
on that note, that is our long and in-depth Oscar rapid reacts.
That was rapid, but it was
not rapid.
You know what? It was in the spirit of Roma. There was a lot of long tracking in that podcast. We took a long time to get to the point.
And we didn't even get to 2 of the acting categories.
No.
Maybe that'll be our next podcast.
We'll do another part.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, we could do that this weekend.
So for another week and the special edition...
There you go with the karate chop hands again.
You're going to do the music and fade back in, right?
Oh, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah.
So the music is really cool that we're listening to right now.
White Man's Overbite.
Oh, yeah. Everybody's with me. Come on now.
Yeah.
So for another episode of Coco and Dalts.
Oh, we're not taping this one. I thought you were going to bring your fancy iPhone home and we were going to tape it and put it on the YouTube.
I'm in denial because we talked about it all last time and then we never did it. So
Well, that's because we're smart and we can't figure out how to get the video off the camera and into the computer.
It's because it's an old-fashioned camera.
From like 2016.
Right. That's outdated.
That is outdated.
All right. For another week of the Coco and Dalts podcast, I'm still not Coco.
And I'm still not Dalts.